talk to him.
Good evening. Being 7 o'clock on January 28th, 2019, I would like to open the Foxborough School Committee regular meeting, which is held at the Foxborough High School Media Center. We are assured that although we cannot see ourselves on television, this is being transmitted, so all of Foxborough is watching us. We entered into executive session at 6:30 for the purpose of discussing negotiating strategies with union personnel for the Foxborough Extended Day staff. And the committee is now scheduled to begin our open session. Our first will be to vote on the proposed 2019-2022 Foxborough Extended Day Staff Memorandum of Agreement. Then we will have visitors. Approval of minutes, followed by learning and teaching highlights, I-go. Proposed 2019-2020 FHS Program of Studies, Foxborough Public Schools' new web presence, FY20 budget public hearing and vote of recommendation. This we will hope will go forward to be voted on in May. Approval of the FY20 Capital Improvement Plan, proposed 2019-2020 school calendar, our bi-county collaborative BICO quarterly report, and other matters. Before we start with our vote for the memorandum, I would like to ask Mrs. Mellinger to have special observing visitors announced.
Hi. Yes, well, we have a scout from Troop 7 who is here observing our school board meeting. Hi, Ethan. Welcome for the Citizen in the Community Merit Badge. One of the requirements is to observe a school board or a board of selectmen meeting, and we're very lucky that Ethan chose us for tonight's observation. So welcome to Ethan and his mom, Ellen, who is a graduate of Foxborough High School herself. So welcome back, Ellen. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Euchner, would you like to introduce our memorandum of agreement, please?
Sure. So the extended day program is our before school and after school group that basically maintains the children that are dropped off by parents and can't be picked up until anywhere from 5 to 6:30. It's a good program we've had. It's been in place for a number of years, and the memorandum of agreement was put in about 6 years ago. So this is actually the third time it's been voted on. The request basically is for a 3-year renegotiated agreement, so it would be FY20 through 22. There were a handful of wording changes throughout the document, a couple that basically just brought it into line with our other contracts. Example was one under the under the sick time usage, and one under the probationary period. So those have again been brought in line with our other contracts. The agreement basically gives the staff and site supervisors a slight increase in their retirement buyout for sick time, from 30 to 35 for staff, 40 to 45 for site supervisors. Again, very similar to other agreements that we have in the district. And again, that's only at retirement. It's not at leaving, so you have to obviously qualify for retirement to get that. And probably the large or bigger portions of this is that over the 3 years, we added a 5th step both to the base staff and to the site supervisors, which is a 2% over the previous 4th step. And then we added a COLA of 2% a year for the 3-year period of time. And again, we have already settled a few contracts, maintenance and custodial, and that's in line with what we've agreed to with them, and it's in line with what we've agreed to on the town side as far as COLAs to go forward. So I think this is a fair agreement. I think it is a great program. It is a self-funding program, fully tuition-based. There is no taxpayer money involved in this, and there is no budget controls. In that sense, it's got to make money, and it does also generate money towards the school activities under utilities. It currently pays close to $200,000 a year in utility costs for the district as part of our expenses. So it is obviously a self-funding that's doing its job. And all of the staff are encouraged to get additional education as part of this, and there's a stipend that's also included that has been out there, but we've kind of cleaned up the wording on that as well. So I recommend approval of the contract as presented.
Any further discussion? So,
I'll make a motion that we approve the 2019 to 2022 Foxborough Extended Day Staff Memorandum of Agreement.
I'll second that.
all in favor? 400.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Do we have any visitors? Yes. And approval of minutes. Any additions or corrections?
I had none.
Don't have any either.
Okay.
I moved to.
One of you guys.
We're all looking like, who wants to do it? Whose turn is it? I don't know. I moved to accept the minutes from the January 7th meeting.
I'll second the motion.
All
I'm
in
gonna
favor?
abstain, 'cause I wasn't there.
And, all right, all in favor? 301.
It's like a chicken.
Thank you.
Do it.
Now we go on to teaching and learning highlights. I am Igo, Dr. Berdos.
Right. I would like to invite Mr. Stanton and our very special guest up front. Our teaching and learning highlight this evening is going to focus on what makes all of us special and looking at our own unique qualities that we bring and to celebrate those. And as part of that, you're going to hear a couple of different things. So I will go ahead and turn it over to Mr. Stanton.
Well, I'll first start off with introductions. I am Mike Stanton, the Igo School Principal.
Marcia Awal,
Who's your teacher this year?
Mrs. Gray, and I'm in 3rd grade.
And
Could
this
you-
is Betsy O'Coin, and I teach elementary wellness at the IGO Elementary.
So Arshia and Ms. LaCoin are joining me today to talk a little bit about our efforts to celebrate our uniqueness, our diversity, and what makes us different, but what we also have in common. And this year we have a couple of themes. We have I Am IGO, but also celebrating us. And a little bit of background behind that. As part of our school improvement plan, we're always constantly trying to promote kindness and acceptance. We just don't want to teach the children to be tolerant. We want them to embrace and to accept and to celebrate our differences. So as part of that, and for me personally too, I had the opportunity to work on the Preventing Bias and Discrimination Committee last year. We've also had recent professional development around embracing differences. So we're looking at a lot of different sources for us to sort of pause and reflect about what we can do to make IGO School a better school, but also simply just acknowledging what we have right before us. And sometimes we get so busy that we're not aware of that. As a principal, we do small things. For example, we've looked at our collection of books in our media center to see if it's representative of our students and our families, and we've expanded those titles. Also, I have to tell you that one of my biggest mistakes last year as a principal occurred with Ashaya, and it made me so sad that it happened. That it was a Thursday in June, and it was the day before field day, and she was coming down the crosswalk, and I was doing duty in the middle of the crosswalk, and I said good morning to her, and I said, "Are you excited for field day tomorrow?" And she says, like, "Oh, I'm not going to be here." So I thought that she had a trip planned. So I said, oh, where are you going? She said, actually, it's a holiday in my culture. And it hurt my heart, and I felt bad about that. As principals, we look very carefully at the calendars, but obviously not as careful as we should. That mistake hasn't been repeated. We actually included and sort of expanded to make sure that we understand the needs of our families, and something that we're continuing to do. So I Am IGO, it's a year-long celebration. We started with a whole school assembly where Arshia wrote a letter. For the past 2 years, she's written 2 letters to IGO school, just on her own, didn't tell anybody, and I come down to my office and Mrs. Holsky hands me a letter, and I read it, and my heart burst open with pride and happiness with what she's been able to do, and I actually shared the letter with you in front of you. So what I've asked is Arshia to do is to read her letter that she wrote, and also she's going to read the poem. So she did this in front of our entire school. All of the students, all of the staff, so almost 500 people where she did it. And then, I open up to you to sort of ask any questions that you might have of her. And then what we'll do is we'll have Mrs. Aucoin talk about what she has done. She's done a tremendous job. And what we're trying to do also is look at our existing traditions, where at IGO school for many years we've had something called the Holiday Hoedown. But what we did is we took that tradition and we changed it a little bit. We called it Celebrating Us, in dances from around the world. And what I simply did is I went to Mrs. Aucoin. I think a good principal, you find a talented and passionate educator, give them an idea, and you get out of the way. So Mrs. Aucoin took this, and I can tell you from the feedback that I had from staff members who were there, they were amazed at what the children were able to do and what she was able to do as well. Are you all set to read your letter?
Yes.
Mr. Stanton?
Oh, yes.
Could the microphone move a little
Yes.
closer to her, please? We want to make sure everybody at home hears this.
Dear IGO School, you are all unique in your own special ways. Even if you are cloudy, you still have a rainbow inside you. You just have to find it. If you see someone who is cloudy, help them find their rainbow by just saying hello and asking how they are doing. Always remember this saying by Dr. Seuss. Why fit in when you were born to stand out? That means to just be you, and you don't have to change for anyone. Kindness is contagious. Kindness is a superpower. For New Year's, we all have goals, right? My goal is to make myself a better person and to make this school and community the best in the world. I can't do that without your help. You can help me by doing an act of kindness every day or more. Just say a lovely thank you to your family, friends, teachers, crossing guard, and bus driver. You can do so much more. Kindness is a superpower that is helping everyone in amazing ways. Be kind, be unique, be you. Thank you.
So why did you write that letter? I guess I'm curious, and to answer that piece, where did that come from?
I just wanted to say that everybody, from my classmates to my family, that they're all unique, so I just wanted to write something about it. So.
Well, pretty powerful, very powerful, I should say, and sort of having the words there. And what Arshia has done, she's taken some messages that we've had each year. We have a whole school message. Sometimes we've asked students that if someone's sort of cloudy, they can share some sunshine and they can create rainbows in someone else's life just by saying hello or doing a small, kind act. Something that we also did in front here, we showed some work from Miss Siddle, our counselor. She went to each of the classrooms and she did lessons that complemented the work that the teachers do every day about celebrating IGO school. And during this assembly, to start it off, we asked all the students to close their eyes and to visualize that they're standing outside of IGO school and that the front door is open and you see a student standing there. And what does that student look like? And what we hope is the student looks exactly like they do. Every size, shape, and color. We are a diverse school. We have so many strengths. We're still learning to tap into that. But for Arshia to do this, and for the past 2 years she's done this. Last year we actually tweeted out her letter. Actually is on the Foxborough Public Schools Twitter account that she wrote as a third grader, and she read it in the morning announcements as well. So we complemented the efforts of the classroom with Mrs. Aucoin.
Okay, so Mike came to me in the beginning of the year and pretty much from what he's been saying here, asked me that, can we make a change? So again, we've had our holiday hoedown forever and a day, and it runs really smooth. I knew exactly what I was going to do, and it would be easy. And of course, he throws this little wrench in and says, we need to change it. So taking that suggestion, I kind of ran with it, and like he said, he kind of left me alone. I did check in a few times to make sure I was in the right pathway. So I basically kind of started researching, Googling, looking for things, looking for curriculums, and finding a way to encompass more of our cultural differences. So finding dances that we could do that are easy enough for children to do. We danced our way around the world. So I have a morning square dance club, which I've always had, and it's very Americana, I guess, square dancing. So I continued with that because the kids really enjoyed it, and if I had canceled it, I think they would have gotten more mad at me. So we kept our square dancing club, which always opens up our dancing day. And then from there, we jumped over to Asia, and we found a group of Bollywood dancers. They were 4 young ladies. 2 of them were at the 5th grade. They were IGO students, and we had 2 within IGO. So we had a beautiful Bollywood dancing show that they did for us. We came back to America, and our kindergarten always danced to Jingle Bells, and of course it's around the holiday times, even though Jingle Bells has nothing to do with the holidays. From there we went south of the border to Mexico, and our 1st graders learned how to do the Mexican hat dance. And we actually got them the big hats, the sombreros, to dance around. And again, the Spanish department, I kind of put it on them if they'd do a little chat with the kids about it, and they actually colored flags from Mexico, so they got a little background there. And then from there, our 2nd graders did the Virginia Reel, which of course was a European dance that came over with our settlers to America. From there, we bounced down to Africa, and I found a little dance that was made popular in the 50s. It's a line dance. It was called Pata Pata. So our 3rd grade class learned the Pata Pata. And then we finished up with going back to Europe, and our 4th grade classes all learned how to do a little Irish jig. So as you can see, we bounced around the world, and each grade level got up and had to perform their dance in front of the entire school. So it was really exciting. It was. I mean, it was nerve-wracking for me. I had to learn the dance first, and then I had to be able to teach it to the kids. So I knew I couldn't do Bollywood, so it was like I needed to hunt down some Bollywood dances, although maybe this summer I should take a class and learn how to do it myself. So it worked out great. The kids, I think, it was wonderful. They really shined. Everybody did. They enjoyed it, it seems like. They had fun. It really worked out well. And then the rest of the morning was just kind of like open dancing. We did a variety of everything. And we ended up with a floss challenge. We had all our little flosses out there doing a great job. So basically, and then the other thing I did was I incorporated, instead of me running the show, I had our 4th graders, so they gave a bit of, they did all the introductions, they give a bit of history about each dance, where it came from, where it, began. So they actually had a little bit of a history lesson and shared with their own classmates. So they kind of ran the dance themselves. So that was it. It was a great day. We had a blast.
Excellent. I'd like to be invited next year.
Oh, you're always welcome.
Definitely, yeah. And then Arshia has a poem that she's going to read as well. It's called I Am Igo.
I am Igo, what does that mean? I am Igo means I can be seen. From back all around, from the top of my head to my feet on the ground. The clothes I wear and how I dress may be different from yours, but do not distress. Always remember that I am Igo, from the tall to the low. I am Igo means I am every color of the rainbow. I am Igo, unique and special in my own kind of way. I am Igo and I am here with you every day. I am Igo, communicating in many ways. I am Igo, come celebrate with me today. I am Igo is our common theme. Let's make I am Igo our reality and our dream. I am Igo, and guess who else is too? That's right. I am Igo is you. I am Igo, what does that mean? I am Igo means I can be seen.
Wow.
just like to say one more thing too, that I was like so moved and impressed, and it was such a meaningful assembly that Mike ran, that I basically, and I've never done this in my 27 years, but I emailed Amy, and I just had to express those feelings to her, because I think a lot of the credit is sitting right up here with us that lead us in this direction, and it was just an amazing assembly. I mean, you could hear a pin drop, and the kids were just so engulfed in it. It was wonderful. So just I'll share that.
And as part of our whole school effort as well, our theme this year is Dream, Believe, Achieve. So I sort of shared with the students my dream is to make IGO School more inclusive, and I believe that it could happen, and how I could make it a reality, achieve it, was through the assemblies and the work that we're doing. So every single student and staff member has received this, and Arshia would like to give one to each of you as well as a special gift.
Thank you.
I hope you think of IGO School and wear it with pride.
Absolutely.
It's your own one?
I went there, it's whatever. Thank you. You're a very good
I'm just
writer.
gonna say Ethan went there as well, too.
All right.
Open for
Mr. Stanton mentioned at the beginning that part of our Preventing Bias and Discrimination Committee that was together last year, and the work that's come out of that is, it's coming out in different ways. And it looks different at some of the different schools, but that common theme is really celebrating who we are. And when you walk around the IGO school, what you see there in front of you, you will see those throughout the school. And it's definitely resonating with the students as well, as part of a conversation I had with a large group of fourth graders and asking, what do we do well? What do you find important? They talked about I am IGO. They talked about the believe, the achieve piece, and it is something that is within each of the students, and they've embraced that, and it's exactly what you have there before you. It is part of the IGO school.
We have 16 languages in our students' homes. 16 just at IGO School.
Just an elementary.
16
Just
now?
at the IGO,
That's amazing.
which is amazing. It shows our growing diversity and richness. I'm excited. So I didn't know if anybody had any questions for Arshia and Mrs. Coyne or any.
You made me cry.
Happy tears.
Very happy tears. Very, very happy.
Thank you.
Do you like writing poems?
I never actually wrote a poem before.
That was your first one?
This one she read. She had that part, but she wrote the letter. But her letter
That's
she's
awesome.
written.
That's so cool.
Thank you.
Well, thank you all for what you do. I think sometimes, although it's only in school that you're doing this every day in school, and you're reaching out to your schools, and you are too, but I think we sometimes forget that what the school impact has for our entire community. And so just your letter with that school community reaches far beyond the schoolhouse, and I think we all know that, but we got to remember that all the time, because a small community like this, what can happen in the small school classroom environment can reach out to the whole town very quickly, and it does. So thank you all three for taking action.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much. This is the best meeting, because look, we have the pictures we've been looking at.
There for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank you. And thanks to your family for bringing you tonight.
Great speaker. Thank you. Wish I spoke that well a bit.
That's great.
I know.
Yeah, he was taking it off. We should have.
Bow down to you.
Earlier. I got it all. I missed that.
Do it 2 more times, so don't do that to me.
I missed that. That's not good.
That was great.
Well, I'll share it with
That
you.
was really good.
I'm slipping in old age here. All right, Mrs. Diana Myers Pot Club. And it seems like we do not have Ms. Lorraine White tonight, but Ms. Akasha is going to be your co-pilot.
Somewhat, yes. A definite co-pilot, that's for sure. So Laureen is not here this evening. She has been under the weather fighting this upper respiratory for quite some time, and I sent her home this afternoon and said, you really need to be in bed. So that's where she is. Tonight, this is the time of year when we have our program of studies, and we present to you any new courses or any changes that are taking place. We have located a couple of typos, so we will be adjusting those as well. But Kelly Arcacha, our department head, K-12 for art, is here to talk about one of the changes that's taking place in one of the courses this year, which is in the art department. So please, Kelly.
Thank you. So I brought some notes. I'm not Lauren White, but I will do the best I can. As Ms. Packless had said, we're not changing, we're not adding a course, we're actually changing a course. So we've taken out Intro to Art. What we've noticed with Intro to Art was that there was a lot of overlap between Intro to Art and Fine Art 1. So we wanted to address that, then also still have a half-year course. So what we're offering is a course called Visual Journaling. And I'm going to start with why we're doing visual journaling. So in October, we've been lucky enough to the last, I would say, actually since Juliet. Juliet was the first one we went to Portfolio Day with. So for a while, we've been going to Portfolio Days in October where lots of college reps from different art schools are present. And we have this great opportunity to talk to the college reps and see are our kids actually college and career ready. So this year, when we went to talk to the college reps, one thing that we noticed is there was a lot more push for process work and not seeing just the final products for portfolios. So they wanted students to bring in their sketchbooks more, and not just that, when kids are applying for school, they actually want slides of their sketchbook work. So with that in mind, we came back, we had a discussion, all the high school art teachers, and Shawn Trice, who teaches at our high school, actually brought this idea up. She said, I've been really thinking about maybe running a curriculum on visual journaling. What do you think about that? And I thought this was a really good opportunity to do this based on what the college reps were saying. So visual journaling, again, is a half-year course. It's a course where students can explore ideas. It's open to 9th through 12th graders, and also students don't have to be in an art class. So I've talked to other AP teachers in English and sciences who their students are dealing with heavy concepts, and I asked them, do you think a course like this would be interesting for them where they could just process ideas through journaling? So find different ways to process ideas, do concept development, brainstorm work, and things like that, and they all thought that was a great idea. Even today, I had a conversation with one of my students in graphic design too, and she was saying that in her AP Euro class, they were doing doodle notes today, and how much that helped her with remembering information. So it's stuff like that that we would be talking about in visual journaling.
Exciting.
That's, and you're extending it to the other,
Yeah, it's open to anybody.
right,
Open to any student.
other fields of study, which is great.
I think this is a great example of we're talking about having our students and preparing them for beyond high school.
Right.
And to go forward and to find out, well, where are our gaps? And what can we do better? And so I think, a lot of kudos to the art department constantly reflecting and saying, we're such a strong program already, but where can we even do better to meet our students' needs?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's also great that we have ideas coming from our teacher leaders within our staff, because it's not just on the department head, it's everybody on the team, and having their ideas heard and then actually translating it to an action, I think is really, it just encourages people to constantly think outside of the box and want to do more. So kudos to you
100%.
too.
100%.
And that collaboration too really makes its way right into the classroom too, because so often those conversations are had with students. Like, what do you think about this? Would you be interested in pursuing something in that manner too? So it's exciting. It's exciting to see the changes and the growth really coming from what is happening and what the outside world beyond us is asking for. So it is to see these evolutions taking place is really what it is. It's an evolution.
It's great.
So we would need approval for this course to be able to go forward.
Is this the only new class?
This is the only new course in the program of studies.
Okay.
Yeah, so we've got the other
there aren't-
changes that are just a couple of wording, but as far as the only course.
Okay.
Do we move it as a regular approval, like we move to accept this course?
Yes, as far as this course on its own, and then,
I'd like to make a motion to approve the visual journaling class for half-year program for grades 9 through 12 as presented to us by Mrs. Arcacha.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Any further discussion? All in favor? 400.
and then did you want to talk about the other program of studies, just the slight changes that you had as far as,
I don't have them all here, I'm sorry. Just, they're really just missing a letter, as an example. Thank you very much, Dr. Burdos, who we missed this one. You know, he can read things over and over again. On page 9, under practical, you've got a whole listing on page 9 of the different level descriptions of the courses. In that second sentence, this is not diploma and/or college path. It should be, this is not a. So it's just a couple of little things that way. But we have this up online, and we don't give this out unless, we don't give a paper copy out unless somebody comes in to ask for it. So we'll just reprint as we need to reprint and do that way. We're trying to save as many trees as we possibly can.
Oh, absolutely.
So it makes those changes like that very simple when it comes to it, so.
And the only other one that I don't think that you mentioned was where it said before, College Entrance Examination Board, it was changed to College Board.
Board, yes.
What
So
page
it's just
is
some
that?
semantics.
Oh, just, it's semantics.
Again, page 9.
Also on 9, yes.
So there weren't changes, it was just
No.
really like the term. One other one was on page 10, which was pupil performance, to change to student academic performance.
It is the semantics of the word.
Yep, and that was it.
That's it.
So other than that, thank you.
I had a question under the AP capstone, because I just don't remember this part, and I'm sure it's just my old memory. But where it says the course, AP Research, AP Sem, they'll fulfill the senior English course requirement if taken in 12th grade. I just didn't remember that being part of it when we approved those to begin with. I think it's great because it is an English class, and it is run by, Shannon Wazalewski, who's head of the English department, and it's a fabulous class, but I just hadn't remembered that, so thank you. Really just more of a comment or a clarification. So, yeah, it's great. I know we have a whole bunch of kids taking AP Sem this year.
We do.
So hopefully we'll have, and I know, well, my son and a couple of his friends took it as sophomores last year, so they'll be ready to take the next AP Research part
Yes.
next year, which will be the first time that's offered, right?
Yes,
Right.
and he, along with some others, I'm sure will be needing that proficiency too for that AP indication. and
Well,
that
from
diploma.
your lips to God's ears on that one, but let's hope so. I think we have a lot of very talented students here. So, but I know he really enjoyed the AP Sem class when he took it last year. So I think it's, and I'm glad that we have a robust class this year in AP Sem too. So it can continue on next year.
And we're looking forward to that part too.
That research part, yeah, it's really exciting.
It is.
Thank you. I didn't have any other questions, other than it looks great, and we offer a very robust course selection for our students across the board.
Time for us to go back to high school, people. I sure didn't have a curriculum like this in front of me.
And just like in any given year, there's, sometimes a department will take a look and say, you know what, that
Don't have
particular
enough.
elective hasn't
Right.
run in a long time, it's been in, and students haven't selected, so, they kind of go through and remove, or, for instance, in this case with art, saying, you know what, we really need to meet the needs of our kids a little bit better or in a little bit different of a way, and thus we wind up with a shift that winds up taking place on it. So some years it's a little bit more robust in what might be happening within the program of studies, and then in other years like this year, last year we had some changes, the year before that we had several more, I think, coming in. So it gives us just that time for students to be able to select courses, try them on, see how they like them, give the feedback, and then departments can make those decisions as to whether or not modifications are going to take place, or it may be removed for some time and then maybe re-entered in again after being looked at all over again. So, but we're grateful because we have a school committee that's supportive and a community that's supportive, and always looking to try to meet the needs of our students as best as we can to prepare them for life after here. And to give them that broad scope that they can select and choose from. So we thank you all too, on your end as well.
I'd like to just make one comment. I know I like to say something when Mrs. Akash is here, because she knows why. But I just want everyone aware that our art department is as strong as our music department is. We're so well known for our music department, I don't think people realize how strong our art department is. Under her tutelage, our daughter just became the youngest design lead at 25 at Microsoft, and traveling all over the world with it now. If it wasn't for you and all your guidance in your art department, she wouldn't be where she is right now, so.
Thank you.
You know how I feel.
Thank you, Dave.
I will never miss a moment to thank you.
We're very grateful to be in such a supportive community and parents that support us all along, so thank you.
But you're always looking for innovative things. You're always changing things around. You're always looking for the newest and greatest. And art is it's a technology. It's an ever constant. You know, people think of a starving artist when you think of art. It's not even close to that. It's all computerized, all technology, and we have a great department here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And
go ahead.
Anybody wants to follow us, we just found out, I didn't even tell Ms. Packla this, that
good.
our department is going to be taking over the Massachusetts Art Education Association social media account in May.
Wow.
So you guys can
what
follow
that-
us, see what we're doing in May.
Congratulations.
We're waiting to see what week we get, but we're taking it over.
And I'll just put this out there too. I think one of the exciting things, we had the Art National Honor Society induction a month or so ago. And one of the things that the art department does is that they do bring back former graduates of Foxborough High School. And those grads speak at that induction as far as what they did here at school and then what they're currently doing now and words of advice for those students. So it's fabulous and it's wonderful to be able to hear back and to know what kids are doing. You know, I call them kids as young people.
They're all adults now.
Yeah. So,
Yes, thank you.
yeah, congrats too. That's exciting.
That's very exciting.
Program of studies nights next Thursday.
It is
Since
coming
Lorraine's not
fast and
here,
furious. It
I'll
just
throw
keeps
that out.
rolling. Yes, it does. It just keeps, like, what's next on the board down there? So, yes, it is. It is
That's
coming next
very
week. So.
And
exciting
AP
about.
potential night.
AP potential as well, yes, for the high school, and guidance was just at the middle school last week to talk with our middle schoolers, our upcoming 8th graders, so 9th graders.
My
So.
parents finally won't be going to that.
No, I was just chatting with your parents at the meet, at the swim meet
They
the
probably
other
will go
night,
just
so.
for fun, I guess.
You better do.
I doubt it. Something to do.
Do you want to Thursday? I guess. I don't know.
We're going through withdrawal here, Kendall.
I think so.
I know. I was gonna say you.
Small doses. We'll weed
You'd
them off,
better.
but-
You'd better do something special for them that night.
Yeah,
because
we'll go.
parents have separation issues too, like that.
Yeah.
It's really hard.
And I'm going to put this out there in case you haven't, maybe you have, but have you shared your news with the school committee?
I think of people. I know where I'm going to college.
Yes. And
And we don't.
I'm going to Dartmouth.
congratulations.
That's what you wanted, yeah.
That's
And
fabulous.
I'm all red, but
Hard work pays off.
It does.
Congratulations.
As her mom and dad said to me, it made for a very nice holiday season
Yeah.
for the family
Wasn't.
because she
I was
heard prior
nice,
to
yeah.
that. So.
I don't know how nice I would have been without that, but yep.
Congratulations. Great.
So good. Hard work there.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much. We appreciate your
Congratulations
support once again.
for the
Do we have to approve
Massachusetts
the entire
leadership.
program of studies? All right, I'll make a motion that we approve the Foxborough High School program of studies for 2019, 2020.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor? 4-0-0.
Thank you so much, everybody. We appreciate it.
Oh, thank
You
you.
can do it next if you want.
I'll be okay. I'll be okay.
I'll do it next
Good night, ladies. Thank you.
Good night.
Yeah, Kendall will jump in.
That's exciting that in art, they're gonna do all of it. Wow. Good evening. Welcome.
I gotta move.
He is going to project up here behind you.
He's projecting on you, Richard.
Come on over here next.
Come on, hang out with us, ladies.
Here and move to right here beside.
You're going to put him in the
beside
corner?
me here.
You're okay.
Just slide it back just a little. Kitty corner it.
So as Mr.
be
Heyer's connecting here, he's going to bring up our new web presence, give an overview of the web presence and some of the changes that have made and the enhancements and how we're still taking feedback and the data too that has shown the amount of the mobile devices as people are really accessing the website from mobile devices. So things like ADA compliance that are there. And even some of the changes that once it was launched, things that we've been able to go back and give feedback on. One example I think of is the calendar. When you go to the calendar and you see all the different colors by school, very quickly you can see what's happening in each of the different schools.
Oh, we scared him away.
I guess we did.
He just ran.
It could be that he's looking for the clicker for the projector.
Yeah, it looks like you.
Turn this on.
Excuse me.
We are uncharacteristically quiet right now.
Yes.
I'm just gonna say.
Lean into the silence.
All right, good evening. So as Dr. Bertos just shared with you, I'm here to share with you our new website and web presence this evening. As we previously communicated several weeks ago with the launch of the site, our new sites were built from the ground up, really to help our district and our schools tell our stories. And I think it's really just so powerful because we do so much here in the school district and so much happens in the school building, and it is really hard to communicate to our school community everything that happens in the building during the day if you're not here to see it yourself. So we went through a selection process with really focused on helping us find the right set of tools to enable us to do that. Excuse me. The process of implementing the new website, it started over a year ago. It was a long process and it was a thoughtful process. The first step in the process is we developed an internal working group, which included representatives from district administration, teaching staff, building administrators, and technology. From there, we held several focus groups through the development of our most recent technology plan. And those focus groups included students, teachers, and parents. So through those focus groups and through the work of the committee, we researched current technology in websites and social media and mass communication tools, and we developed some criteria and really we defined the selection process in which we would use. So some of that criteria was we're looking for a clean, modern look. We wanted the platform to be easy to use and to access for all of our constituents and stakeholders. And we wanted it to be rich with mass communication tools and social media integration. And lastly, again, most importantly, we wanted the platform to help us engage our school community and our different stakeholder groups and really tell our stories. Okay. So I'm excited to show you the new website. I'm sure most of you have seen it already, but to talk to you about some of the technology and some of the functionality that specifically helps us accomplish that mission. So, as Dr. Bertos just mentioned, when we looked at our website traffic and statistics, it showed that a lot of our traffic outside of the school building was through mobile devices. So what was very important through the process was evaluating the mobile responsiveness of the site, and that's how the site responds on a number of different platforms, whether that be phone or an iPad or a laptop, that the content is still easily accessed and still readily available. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to try to mimic how the mobile responsiveness works. Give you an idea what it might look like and how it works on different types of mobile devices with different screen resolutions, and then show you what it might look like to interact with that with the website on that device. So here's our website. This is what it looks like on a desktop. One of the things in terms of making the site mobile responsive starts with the design. And the design here if you look at the website, it pretty much acts like a social media feed, right? So you're scrolling up and down. So that's pretty intuitive. And it's very easy to navigate from a mobile device where you can just scroll up and down to get the content. So this is what it would look like on a larger tablet or computer. So I'm going to show you just by readjusting or moving the size of my window, how it responds on a mobile device. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring it over to maybe what it would look like on a tablet or an iPad. So not much has changed here, except for the size of the content has adjusted itself so that it still displays quite nicely. So then we're going to show you what it would look like on a device with a smaller resolution. So I'm going to point out here this top navigation here. It's text-based navigation. So as I get to a smaller screen resolution, you'll notice that text-based navigation disappears. And that's because once you get into a smaller size resolution, those text-based navigations there are de-emphasized to make the site display on the site and still be interactive and intuitive. Once you get to that small, the text becomes very difficult to use. Okay. One of the other things you'll notice is as you scroll and resize the window here, if you look at the logo here for the Foxborough Public Schools, this is the desktop logo. You'll also, at some point, convert over to what they call a mobile responsive logo. Okay? So this helps you get all the content onto the page or onto the screen. So as you see here, no matter what size it is. The other thing you'll notice here is in the main navigation, which is district information. At some point, when you reduce the resolution of the screen, it comes to a mobile responsive menu. So when you're using a computer and you have a mouse, and you go up here to these, what we call mega menus, right? So they're very large menus with lots of content in them. They can be difficult to use. Clicking on these, getting in here and clicking on these text items with your finger can be tough. So when it switches, it's a text that you're on a lower resolution, or a mobile device. I don't know how I can grab in the corner here. It switches to this mobile responsive menu where you see menu, and then you have this flyout menu that's much easier to use from a mobile device here, navigating. Okay. So these are some of the features of the mobile responsiveness. From a subpage of the site here, you'll see this scrolling subpage navigation, which works quite nice on a computer. It allows you to see the breadcrumbs and the different submenus of the page. But again, this can be quite difficult on a mobile device to access this content. So this still could be very valuable content, as you see too, how nicely this scales down to maybe a smartphone, what this looks like.
Policy manual.
What you'll notice is at this lower resolution, that submenu 2 also converts to a mobile responsive menu. It's easy to use. Okay? All right. Some of the other features, right? So we talked about the mobile resizing, the disappearing top menus, and the conversion to the mobile responsive menus. Some of the other features have to do with accessibility. So starting here at the top of the page with the integration of Google Translate. It's a translate services provided by Google. There's quite a few languages. When we produce content natively in the website platform, we're able to make this content accessible to families that may not speak or read English natively using the Google Translate services. So I've selected Portuguese here, and you can see that all of the menu items have been translated using the translations service to Portuguese, including the school message and the calendar items. So all of the native content here. This same design functionality also allows the content to be compatible with a number of assistive technologies, including screen readers. So for people that may be visually impaired and require the screen readers, all of the content is designed to be ADA compliant and to be accessible with those tools. Some of the tools are built in. Tools built in here, for instance, these text magnifier tools here. So you see the plus sign. If you notice, as I increase the size of the text on the site to make it more easily to read, the site and the design responds much like it does to the mobile functionality to increase the size of the text. Things like images may be de-emphasized, so the images may not look as great, but the content stays accessible. Okay. Another one of the important features was social media integration. So as we know that social media has become the way that many of us communicate, whether it's with friends or family, and want to and go to social media to seek new information. So there's integration here with Twitter. It's one of the district's primary platforms in terms of social media. So it's built into the site here, as well as there's what they call social share functionality, where if you find some content that you want to share, whether it's a calendar event, whether it's a news story, whether it's a new policy or an announcement, by clicking this forward button here, the site integrates directly with a number of current and popular social media platforms. So early on, when we looked at our website and traffic, as well as our focus groups, we found that the calendars were one of the most sought after items. And as Amy said, we continually taking feedback. It's something we welcome and responding to it. And as Amy mentioned, there's been a couple of revisions to the calendaring in response to that feedback we've received. So there's a lot of functionality actually built into the calendar. So as you see here on the district calendar, there's color-coded tags. In some cases, you see there's a +1 or +3. That means that there's an additional 3 additional events. When you click on that +3, you can expand the calendar to a daily view. There's several different views on the calendar. There's weekly view, monthly view, and then the list view as well. But one of the neat integrations in terms of mass communication and social media integration here is through the share button on the calendar. You can create an iCal feed to sync the calendar directly to your iPhone or your smartphone. You can subscribe to email alerts, so you can subscribe to an alert around an event, and if there's any information or changes to that event, you can be automatically notified of those changes, as well as you can export the events to a spreadsheet or the calendar a spreadsheet if you want to integrate it with any other types of applications, which you may be able to do with a spreadsheet. You can also copy a link to the calendar. It's, common integration with like Google calendars or Office 365 calendars, as well as search from any of the other calendars here. So the website really, it continues to provide all of the access to the important information which you seek, whether it be lunch menus or directories or schedules. But most importantly, this platform really provides us with a host of tools which allows us to really engage our students, engage parents, and our greater school community. Some of the other functionality that this has allowed us to offer and integrate with, we recently started automated attendance calling and notification. That functionality is directly built into this platform. Also, if you're a PowerSchool parent portal or student portal user, you can see communications which have been sent via email, also in the portal. And it also allows us secure document sending functionality as well, something that we've started to use and will be using more frequently in the future. This specifically will allow us to send things like rubrics or standards-based report cards, which can't easily be displayed online through secure electronic messaging, but also posting directly to the parent student portal. Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Comments?
I know we've talked about, changing the web presence I know we've been working on this one specifically for a year, but we've been talking about it for a number of years, since Aaron got here. And I know a tremendous amount of work went into the research and the development of this. I think it looks great. I need a little more time myself to just sit down and fool around with it. But I think it looks fantastic, and I think it's definitely headed it is the right direction. That's great. I mean, look at that.
Communication's always been a problem within the school system that has been presented to us leaders. And this is everything in one spot. I mean, I think you've covered so many things with this, so I think you've done a great job.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I've been
much-
hearing that for years about communication.
There's so much more to come in terms of tools to help us communicate. We're in the process still of implementing a number of the mass communication features and social media integrations, but ultimately, it's our plan to have the website be the authoritative source of all information. So when information is posted to the website, that it can be pushed directly to social media sites. And those sites and platforms change really often, so that can be difficult for us to do. But this platform helps minimize the learning curve and actually makes it efficient, in terms of posting information to the website where it's authoritative, and then pushing that to social media so that no matter where you get information, that information is the same, and that you can always go back to the website really to get more information about that. In terms of the navigations, one of the things I'd like to point out here is the student families menu, kind of like one-stop shopping. In website design, this concept is called a mega menu, and it's because it can grow quite large. It can actually get to be as large as the window, but it allows you to click on one menu and see a number of different items, and with one click get directly to those. In terms of new users out there, there's some quick launch buttons at the top for food service, the little knife and fork here. Quick icon to get to PowerSchool. Quick icon for Office 365 for students. This is probably the most controversial icon here. It's a life preserver, but it's often confused with a soccer ball, so we may have to do something with that. But
I may have called it a donut today in a meeting.
And what's that one used for?
It's access mostly for staff and students to get technology support, or for staff to request maintenance support. So it's mostly for internal
Donuts
use.
help
but
with that too,
We've heard quite a few names for this: the soccer ball, the donut.
Can students access that from home if they run into? Because I know sometimes when we're on break or over the summer we're doing
It is
technical
accessible.
upkeep, and sometimes the kids run into, I can't get on, I can't do this, so they can get in touch with you or one of the other technology experts.
Yeah, it is accessible online.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Aaron, that Twitter icon at the top that you were just hovering over, that's not aligned to, oh, it is aligned to each school. That's what I was wondering.
It brings you to
great, though.
each school's
Yeah.
Twitter
Questioning
feed.
things.
So depending on which school site you're on, and then if you're on the Foxborough site, it's the Foxborough
The
feed.
district site,
But it's not, if you clicked into, I'm asking because I haven't discovered it yet, so I actually don't know the answer. If you clicked, is there a way to click into the music department to see the music feed unless it gets, or do we have to wait for it to be retweeted by the Foxborough account? Do you know what I mean? It's not gonna have all of our many people who are tweeting in our many departments.
So wherever we could, if you were to go to the music department site and go
Yes.
to the Twitter, it should take you
It should?
to there.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
great.
It
Wow.
should. We've just rolled out training to our webmasters and department staff, so some items that may not be updated should be updated over the next several
That's
days.
good to know, so it really will be one stop.
Right.
That's really our hopes. And again, too, there's this social share button. That's a tongue twister.
That I love.
Button here, which if there's content on the site that you'd like to tweet out or share out, so it may not be in original tweet form that you're retweeting, but if there's a news post or something on the site that you'd like to tweet out, this button here will take you right to the Twitter logon and then queue the content up for you to tweet it out. Or like on Facebook, or email it, or to Google Plus, or there's a number of different social media platforms that are being integrated to the platform.
Well, it's great that it's smartphone. The old website was very, very hard to maneuver
Lots
on
of
your.
zooming
Lots
and,
of
yeah.
zooming.
Navigate, yeah.
And you're very rarely home in front of your desktop when you need to look something up. Usually you're on a field or in your car waiting for somebody or something. So having it smartphone friendly is fantastic, I think. People
It really helps,
really appreciate that.
maintain the content and keep it, accessible. I mean, this is, believe it or not, it's hard to believe that this is the size of a smartphone nowadays here, but the content's still very accessible
Yeah.
here.
And even some like housekeeping kinds of things, for instance, being able on our end, if we're posting something, to be able to put the start and end date for it automatically to come down instead of having to remember to go back to the
and take it
website
off.
and to take it off. That's going to help with
Keep it much more
the
current.
currency.
Yeah.
Yes. Wow, a lot of work went into
It's
this.
also opened up a lot of staff being able to make a lot more changes. So again, to keep it current.
Right.
Before, we had a lot of reliance on tech to do things.
Right.
Our webmasters were capable of doing some of it, but now, virtually anybody within departments should be able to.
On the teachers.
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of inline editing capability, so if you have permissions and you're an editor and you want to edit this text, literally just clicking on the text, just like you were in a Word document, and typing right over it, or editing it, or deleting it. So it definitely allows us to keep the most relevant people, or the people that are nearest to the information, involved as a contributor to the site, and instead of having them have to going through a webmaster. There's also a number of built-in workflows as well, for built-in approvals or quality checks that we've implemented. So
Fantastic.
hopefully just the much more multimedia-rich content. It's definitely, I think it's definitely engaging when you can come and actually interact with the website, whether it's by sharing information or seeing what's going on in the schools, whether it's videos or photos, that we have the ability to now share that information with our school community and our greater school community.
Nice job.
Yeah, thank you.
And I think the other part that Erin had said before was taking feedback. So we're
Right.
taking the feedback when we hear from folks as far as where is something, or if it's something like the calendar, and making that where it's more user-friendly. So it's the beginning of it, but feedback's important.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the idea is it's, should be constantly changing, and
Correct.
we hope that you want to come back to the site often to see what's going on in the schools and to share it throughout the community. So please, if you have any feedback, please send it to us. Let us know, whether it's through your school building, principals, teachers, or contacting us directly. Feedback's always welcome.
I did have the automated attendance line call me the other day, and Sam was actually in school when they called, so I was like, huh. So, so I had called the main office, and well, we're working a couple of the little kinks out, but, so it might happen, you know, but he has first period studies, so I think it just didn't get marked present when he was there, but it works, you know, just, there you go.
There's been a couple
So,
things, particularly at the high school where we have like senior privileges and where
Yeah.
they're coming in at different
little bit,
times.
yeah.
And that has definitely caused us to have a number of conversations. So what you experience doesn't happen. I know for myself, this was a number of years ago because of the system where my children are happened. I'm like, I saw him get on the bus this morning.
I backed out of
mean
the
he walked
driveway.
in.
But of course, now we have cell phones, so I texted him and said, so, I'm assuming you're at school. I just got a call. So he's like, yes, I'm here.
Yeah. And like one of the other, talking about bugs that we're working out of it, because it's very important for parents to call us ahead of time. So if they know the night before that their child's sick and it's not going to be there and they leave the message, then we're doing what we can to make sure that we're not then calling
Right.
them. But sometimes we will, especially if they come in tardy, and that again,
Yeah.
it's trying the
happens.
timing of it.
You know, it seemed important that we could get the communication out as quick as possible, in case there was a case where a student was unaccounted for, that
Yeah,
parents
it was
would know.
early. It was
and-
like 8:30 when.
Yeah, we
or
could respond.
earlier when they
So,
called, yeah.
so we've
Used to be like
been
10.
working almost daily. I think we're there now in terms of getting the right time to allow people to make corrections for things like work study. But talking about the reflective process that we've gone through, we've done quite a bit of reflection on this and made quite a few changes. So we're hoping we're there with that.
Yeah. When you can send out 100 calls in 4 seconds.
That's pretty amazing. Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Totally agree.
And that's going to multiple numbers. It's going to the home and then
so
like
on.
the parent one,
Yes.
parent two.
And it's sending emails, so you,
Right.
also you get if there's an audio call or a voice call that goes out,
You get an email.
you get an email, but it's not just text. It also contains the voice message, right? So
Right.
you can hear the message. So
Everything went off all at once.
often parents,
I remember those, dude.
and I'm guilty of this too, if you get a missed call from the school, you'll instantaneously call back. So again, helping get that information via email where you can see without calling your voicemail what the message was and listen to it right from your phone. So,
That's good.
thanks.
Great job, Aaron. Thank
Thank you very much.
Do you not have any idea why we can't see ourselves on the TV?
I'm actually going.
We have a cable box malfunction.
A cable box malfunction, okay.
Yes, and we're working on getting that replaced. So we hope to have that replaced soon. We're looking into getting it done, and hopefully we'll have it done the next couple of days.
Actually, it's not distracting for us at all not to have it. It may be better without it.
I like that.
As long, as long as
When I get a
the,
glimpse, I'm like, oh.
as long as the public has access to us,
Yes.
if they tune in.
Thanks again, Aaron.
Thanks so
Thank
much.
you.
Have a
Yeah,
great
good
day.
job.
Thank
Thanks.
you
Thank you.
very much, Aaron. That's hours of work and we deeply appreciate it.
It's your turn.
Now, I believe we have Dr. Berdos and Mr. Yukner with FY20 budget public hearing and vote of recommendation, which hopefully will be moved on to our May town meeting.
Correct. So this is our third meeting, and it is by bylaw, requirement of the school committee to make its recommendation tonight. We've had the opportunity to meet with the AdCom liaisons, had some very thoughtful questioning from them. We did go through the same presentation that we've gone through with you. Unfortunately, they weren't able to make it at previous times, so it was good. We got to take them through the whole process and explain where we were. Our backup proved to be fairly good because every time they asked a question, we could point them to a page to see the analysis behind what it was.
Excellent.
And that's obviously our goal because we don't want it to be something that people can't figure out where it comes from. But I think at this point, unless the committee has any further questions or concerns, the budget represents what I believe is a reasonable proposal as it keeps our staff in place, very minor FTE changes, and the two that Dr. Bertos has listed before, one for the team chair, which is a 0.5 position, and then a 0.2 position, music, I'm sorry, at the middle school level. And, so really, with the changes that we've made and reductions in this current FY19 year, it's really a 0.1 increase as far as FTEs go. So I think from that perspective, our FTE changes are very minimal. And again, I think we've serviced the needs of all the buildings and the requirements of what we have for our student population at this point. Obviously anything can change with move-ins and other issues, and as I've tried to be very clear with the committee in the past, is that this budget is our best guess and estimate of what we need for September of 2019, but things will change between now and the day school opens, and we know that, and it makes it incumbent upon us to be very flexible with how we adjust. It may mean we take away from something that we were hoping to do to satisfy the needs of something that has happened in the interim. So we do that with your blessing, and we try to move this process forward. We do have the one restriction, and that is our budget is our budget. We don't have additional funding coming to us at special town meetings or anything else like that. We have to live within the financing we have. So at this point, the budget request being a $36,118,943, which represents a 3.22% increase. Are there any questions that I can answer?
I don't have any questions. I just want to make sure that anyone watching at home, anyone here in our audience tonight, knows that we have in front of us spreadsheets that encompass the actual amounts from fiscal year 2016 through the proposed budget for fiscal year 20. So we have a lot of detail in front of us that we have gone over, at home, line by line. We don't sit here at the table and go through every single line item and discuss them, but we do have the background knowledge, so we know how our budget has been built for each school, for each department at the high school, for each area. So there's quite a bit of detail that we have in front of us, and I want to commend Bill and Amy and Allison for doing an excellent job of providing us with the necessary details, so we know where there are changes, where there are slight increases, where there are significant decreases in some areas, like we discussed the library at the high school going down $10,000 in the book ordering, but I don't have any questions because they've all been answered at this point. But we do, all of us have a significant amount of historical background information that we look at when we make our decision whether or not to support the budget. So,
Well, in addition to that, we also have a subcommittee, which includes Tina and myself, that meet with the team before we even present it to the school.
in early December,
In
yeah,
early
we sat
December,
down.
so we've already gone through it line by line with them. So it's a very vetted process. And then we go in front of the AdCom on Wednesday evening.
This Wednesday.
This Wednesday
Yep.
evening for recommendations.
I think it's also probably the one item that's a kind of a leftover from the last number of years is the fact that this is the final year. So $100,000 of the increase is actually to complete the funding of free kindergarten, which we've actually had in place for a couple of years, but we've been using the tuition-based revolver that was built up over years, and it's now down to zero after this year. And so this is the final piece to that, and it really eliminates, all fees, that we had, and it's the only fee that we had previously to this was that. And so I think from a school committee and a town, they should be very proud that all of our parents basically have services available to them without having to pay additional costs to do it. It's all tied into their tax dollars, which is, again, I think most people like that one place, that's how they're contributing to their kids' education or services within the town.
I agree, and I think the 4-year phase-in, though, was a really an excellent way to handle it rather than putting it in as one large
right.
chunk. When we looked at it, and it was, $400,000, $500,000 to do all at once, that would have been a really big hit in 1 year. So phasing it in was, I think it was Bruce's idea. It was a really excellent way to do it. Bruce and Bill and Amy.
Is pre-kindergarten mandated by the state, or is it unique to Foxborough?
No, ironically, the majority
question.
of the state north and west of Boston has had free kindergarten for years.
Oh, okay.
It's really been south of Boston that has had this kind of tuition-based programming. We did originally get a grant that helped us to even start full-day kindergarten.
That's how we started it.
That's how we started it, but we still had a tuition base into it. We were fortunate to keep our tuition lower than most of our neighboring towns, but it still was an expense. I think at one point we were $3,000 for a parent to send their child. So again, young families with, young kids have a lot of other costs involved, and now to give them that additional, benefit of the free full-day kindergarten, they've also got obviously a financial benefit, and most families growing up through the town will eventually have that as something that they are able to enjoy.
Yeah. And the other part too, when we had the tuition part, you have to, by state law, have the half-day where there's no cost.
Okay,
So they could choose half-day.
There was always a no
Yes,
cost
always.
option.
Yes.
Right,
Yes.
but it was half-day.
But there's
Ironically,
so few.
once we did it, we were down to one class.
Of half-day.
half-day.
People didn't want half-day, they wanted full
And
day.
that was really only around 11 or 12 students.
Right.
And we no longer had,
In the district,
In the whole district.
not per school.
Right.
You no longer have half day at all?
No, it's all, now that there's
Now
no
it's free,
tuition.
it's
now-
all full.
Right,
So
so it's all full day.
it is something that the state is pushing towards, having all full-day kindergarten.
Is that like 6 hours, like a regular
Yep.
school day?
regular school day.
like
Come on the
being in
bus in the
first grade.
morning.
I think I did like AM kindergarten.
Right.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, that is
Yeah.
what you did back then.
Yeah.
Now everybody does full day. Well,
Yes.
that's weird.
Yeah.
They still get their nap, though.
Get them ready for first grade.
Right.
When they started the full-day kindergarten, the half-day kindergarten kids were getting a full day's worth of curriculum in the half day.
Yes, thank you
So-
for saying that.
So I remember this because
education.
Sam's class was the junior class was the last year. It was all half-day kindergarten, and then the following year. But they were doing a full day's worth of curriculum within that half-day, even before full day started. They had,
Well, you have to do the curriculum because it's the expectation of the state. I mean, you got into Dartmouth, you
and
went to
even,
half-day kindergarten.
it was a change even between when my oldest, who graduated last year, went to half-day kindergarten, and then 2 years later, the amount of curriculum that was being done, I'm sure it was the same when you were in kindergarten, the amount of curriculum that was being done, the changes that had been made in the math and the English, they were doing so much more in that half day
Yes.
that it was, it was like he'd been in school for a whole day, to be honest. So it was a very different program than it was even 2 years prior to that. So being in school a whole day, they have extra recess and they have
Right.
specials and they're there for lunch
I
and
think as the academic expectations increased, it made the option for play
Right.
less available
Well,
in a
that was
half-day
it.
program. So we're able to keep that element of
Exactly.
play in the kindergarten classroom.
It should be there.
Of course it should be.
Social.
It's very
For social.
developmentally necessary, yeah.
exactly. So
Joe, did you have a question?
Joe Garrity, Foxborough Town Supporter. I had a question about, I know a couple years ago, if you did the full day, you had to pay the tuition. But if you did half day, it was free. But if you were a special ed student, either substantially separate or needed partial inclusion within the regular classroom, did you have to pay, or did the district pay for that?
Not if it was in their IEP.
If it was in their IEP,
They were here and they did not pay.
right, because I know the rule for preschool is you have to pay if you're not special ed. If you're special ed, the town has to provide it, right?
Right, that's part of the peer model program. So we do have peer models in our preschool, and then those that are there on IEPs, they're there and are not paying.
Right, because they need the support.
Correct.
That's right, exactly.
Great question, Joe.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
Actually
welcome.
highlights an area of the budget that, an aspect of the budget that we're going to vote on tonight. So thanks, Joe.
That was good, Joe.
Bill, before we do anything, I'm unable to take action on one of the line items in this budget. So are we able to remove that from our discussion?
Yes, we remove that one, and he will recuse himself from the room. We can vote on that, and then we can vote.
I believe it's athletics contracted services probably. But I'm unable to take action on that item.
Because of MIA?
Yes.
Yes.
So we can do that one item
Just
without
take a
him, and
moment to
then.
maybe
yeah.
identify it, just to make sure we got it right.
So it's on page 7 of your budget, contracted services, 3510-4. It's $120,000 even. It's obviously not just
I understand.
for MIA, it's for a number of different things, but MIA is in that line. So basically, you would be voting the budget as it stands, less $120,000. So it would be, that wasn't that close. 35,900,000.
Sorry.
$35,998,943, exclusive of contracted services and training.
I'm sorry, Bill. Can you say that amount one more time?
$35,998,943.
Thank you.
Motion. I'd like to make a motion to accept the budget as amended, less than 120,000.
Oh, wait a
No,
minute.
or just do the amount, just do the right
Let's
amount.
approve the 35 million exclusive of athletic services and training, and
All right,
then
you
we'll
want-
vote on
why
that
don't you
part.
do it?
No, I just
you
want to
do it
make
like
sure
you do
that
it,
we're
'cause I'm
not
remember all the
decreasing.
verbiage. No, you just do it so you do the verbiage correctly.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
No,
interrupt
that's
you,
fine,
Mallory. I
that's
just want to
fine.
make sure that we,
Yep.
we're not eliminating that line item
No, I'm
accidentally.
not eliminating
You're-
it, sorry.
you're
No, just make sure we're just phrasing
Go
it
ahead.
correctly.
Just phrase it correctly with the exclusive.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the budget amount of $35,998,943 exclusive of athletic services and training to be voted on in a separate motion.
Correct.
I second that motion.
Thank you, Mayor.
All in favor? 400. Thank you.
Get out.
Come back.
Goodbye, I'll be back. I actually have to leave the room.
It's another motion you can't even second.
This is just to cover all bases.
No,
meeting,
we're doing it exactly the
How
right
it's
way.
supposed to be done.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right, ladies.
All right.
It's up to you.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to approve budget line item 3510-4 under high school athletics, contracted services and trainer in the amount of $120,000 for fiscal year 2020.
I'd like to second that motion.
All in favor? 300.
Done, done, done.
Joe, you want to tell Mr. Pearson we're all set?
He can come back in. He's welcome back to our meeting.
Maybe he doesn't want to come back.
I know. Might have left.
No, he's back there with Mike. Want
You
to
can
knock
open the door.
loudly?
You can open the door, Jeff.
All righty. So, and this is what we will discuss on Wednesday evening.
Now the capital.
Now, our capital improvement, Dr. Berdos and Mr. Yukna.
Kind of as we've talked about before, this is a relatively simple year. as compared to what we've had over the last few years with some fairly large projects. Continuation of our annual computer hardware, software, network upgrades at $190,000. The replacement of 2 buses this year. As you remember, the last couple of years we've replaced 3, but this year will be 2. 77 passenger buses at $160,000, net of trade-ins. The copier fleet upgrade and replacements throughout the district at $40,000, and the Berlin Elementary School sewer connection, which is in advance of the actual renovation project, in the amount of $30,000, because we'd like to get that done this summer. From a timing point of view, that really will help that whole project go along. And so that gives us a total of $420,000 that we'll be asking for.
I would move to accept the capital improvement request for FY20 at $420,000 with the 4 items as listed.
I'll second that motion. Any further discussion? All in favor? 400. Thank you kindly once again. Now, our proposed 2019-2020 calendar. Dr. Bearhouse, please.
So the calendar that you have in front of you in your packet mirrors very much our current calendar. We did not have for a vote this evening, and if you decide you want to vote it, you obviously can, but I wanted to bring up a couple of things that have come up with the calendar here. And the first being the Good Friday holiday in April. So as you'll see on the calendar here, it is April the 10th for the next school year. And there's been discussion, the last 5 years, we've ended up going back a half day with our snow days on Good Friday. It's the only religious holiday that we have actually on the calendar. A number of districts around us go full days on that day. And so what I wanted to bring up for conversation, if there was an interest in having a conversation, at the administrative team and is also with our FEA, where we've gone to school for a half day in the last 5 years, 2 different times. This year, it's during April vacation, so it was not a question. But the discussion was whether or not to go to school on Good Friday. Last year, we ended up pulling that back because of the number of snow days that we had. When we looked at our attendance data, we didn't have a high number of students or teachers out on that day. Teachers, obviously, is a religious holiday, they can still take it. And I think that we had 11 that did, which is probably less than what we have on a regular day, especially with flu days and sickness that are out. The discussion was, by having that day in April, when you think about us already starting after Labor Day, having a day in April versus having a day in June, it allows for an instructional day that would be different than it would be in June. When we think about the high school and you think about AP exams, those take place no matter what across the country. So if you think about schools in the South that start earlier, they're taking the AP exam the same day we are when we're starting after Labor Day. The other districts surrounding us that did not, that still have that as a holiday on their calendar, they start before Labor Day. So I wanted to bring that up to see if there was any interest by the committee where you vote the calendar to have students go to school on Good Friday, where it's the only religious holiday that's there, to where if it were even a half day, you would still be able to observe the holiday. And it could be something that you want to think about, and then we can come back and we can have at the next school committee meeting. So it's.
So you are asking us to consider to perhaps vote Friday the 10th, a full day of school.
Or a half day.
I think in the past, we've discussed that if it's a half day, it does allow students who want to participate in Stations of the Cross and go to church at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That gives them ample time to do so. And also having a half day, we do get instruction in, but if there are students who feel that they need to stay home for religious reasons, they're not missing a full day of school.
Like we have teachers that take the Jewish holidays, and students that take the Jewish holidays.
And they're all excused absences.
They're all excused absences.
Correct.
So we're, so far, as far as
Oh,
snow
God,
days.
yeah.
But
So
last
lucky.
year,
Oh.
and that has not been.
Last year, we, had all the snow days in March. I mean, we had 2 in January
Right.
and then that mess in March,
So I think,
so.
that the patterns are shifting.
Yeah.
So that was one question that had come up as far as from the staff. And then the second one was looking at when a term ends. So if you look at November, term 1, and this would be middle school and high school because the elementary is on trimesters. So term 1 typically ends that first full week, so you see it as the 8th. If that were, term 1 were to be pushed back, because it doesn't actually end up being exactly 4 quarters when we look at the 180 days. What that does is allows that extra time within term 2 as teachers are working on assessments that take place. We know that we have midterms that take place during that time, and it would allow more time. The only
You mean push it back to November 1st?
push it back to November 1st. So it gives them the extra week within term 2. But what that does on the calendar, that what I wanted to point out, is that typically, depending on the year, you have 1 week or you have 2 weeks before parent-teacher conferences. This would put 3 weeks when the term ends before you have parent-teacher conferences. That's the difference.
Well, that's not, first thing is, we look at the impact that it would have on students. That is not impacting the student in a negative way.
No,
This is
absolutely
still
not.
a positive
Correct.
for a student.
Yeah, from my perspective, like, we just had midterms, obviously, so it feels like everybody reels from, like, term 1, and then you have a few weeks of term 2, and then it's, here's what's going to be on the midterm, then we have a week before the midterm, and then we have midterms. So it really feels like term 2 is half of what term 1 is. So then your teachers and students both are scrambling to get everything in, to get grades closed. I mean, everybody's scrambling to get grades closed for term 2 now that midterms are over. So I get the thing with parent-teacher conferences, but it does feel like term 2 is very short, especially in high school. I get it doesn't impact middle schoolers as much, but high school is really short.
So you actually, from a student point of view, you might prefer it moving up to the,
Pushing it back.
to November 1st.
Pushing it back, yeah.
Yeah,
Having a shorter first term and a slightly longer second term.
yeah, because
but then there's a lot of testing, that's more testing going on.
And they
in
have the
that.
break. It's very disjointed in that whole phase of time. I understand why.
With,
because they-
yeah,
With different holidays
holiday
and,
breaks, yeah.
exactly.
yeah, holidays and Thanksgiving and
And
Christmas, we
Martin
have
Luther
10
King.
days, and
There's a
Martin
lot.
Luther King Day.
So you would end up term 1 having about like 42 days. Term 2, you would have 47 days. Term 3, it's 43 unless you end up going out a couple days from there. And then the last term would be 51. So it doesn't work out perfectly anyway.
Right.
Just as with the trimesters at elementary, it doesn't work out perfectly with a third, and third.
Is there a mandate, or is it just our common practice with this school committee that we assign the term days?
It's
So-
just the calendar. So you vote the calendar and where the term dates are on there and you vote the calendar. So that's why I bring it to your attention.
I mean, I was kind of gonna propose that we let the
You make the
administration.
decision,
That we
exactly.
let the administration make the curricular decisions around the term ending dates. Because that's what we're talking about
Right.
here, is testing and those things like that. And I feel like it'd be more important for us to make the decision as the school committee for the days off and the half days and the starting and ending.
Yeah.
And when you have this dialogue with the leadership of your schools, and it says, this is because of this, because of the structure of our testing, I think that is in your hands, in my opinion, but I'm asking the question very
Because
candidly.
it's on the calendar and you vote the calendar.
I agree with everything you just
Right,
said, Rich. I was
but-
thinking the same thing as she was presenting it. I think you know what's in the best interest of the students. I second that. Kendall, also, I think that's a
Feels-
really strong, having a student speak up at the same time. But I think you guys know what's in the best interest of the students and how everything falls, more than we would know on the day-to-day operations of the school system.
But this, Rich, another reason is we bring it open for discussion so that we ask questions and the public is aware
Yep.
of why these changes are being suggested. And this is all for part of that openness.
And I will say, we know that parents can request a conference at any time.
You just took the words right out of my
Right.
mouth. 'Cause
Right,
I
was
was going
thinking
to
the
say
same
that
thing,
I'm
too.
not troubled by the 3 weeks
Right.
because I have found that when a student is having difficulty, that teachers are very quick to
Exactly.
reach out to parents and or respond to parent requests to come in and have a conference earlier. So
Yes.
I think that I'm not troubled by the 3 weeks.
And with all the
span at
two-way
all.
communication we have with Power School now, everyone is well-informed. It's not like it was, 10 years ago.
Yeah, I'm happy to leave it there, but absolutely leave it in the hands of,
Well, that's it, but
with, and if that's, we have to leave it there for
Yes.
that reason, I'm all good there too, but I was willing to get a little bold and just say, I don't even want to have to make the decision because I trust yours, but I get it.
Be bold, be you.
Well,
this is, this is the reasoning. She's
No,
just
it's
giving us
good.
the
It's very
reasoning
good.
why.
yeah.
It's great.
They have chosen the calendar this way because we have to,
Yeah.
And the
vote on
other
it.
part too is we have 6 half-days within term 2. So that's the other
Right.
piece here that's really
I get it.
important to think
With the
about.
midterms.
Right, with the midterms and with
Thanksgiving
parent-teacher
conferences.
conferences and
November's always like
Thanksgiving,
that.
Yeah.
that's there. So having 6 half-days, you're losing that part within term 2. So although you're
At the high school, not at the middle
at
school.
the high school,
Right.
correct.
Right.
Never had school in November, yeah.
That's a good point. I don't know how the rest of the committee feels. I would kind of like to think about this a little bit, not the terms, the
Good
terms I'm
Friday?
fine with, but the Good Friday, I'd like to reflect a little
Absolutely.
bit more about that.
I wanted to bring it to
before
your
the next
attention where it's
meeting.
been a conversation where we've had that in the last 5 years, where we've ended up going back 2 different times.
Yeah. And I don't think it's been a huge problem, honestly. But I would still like to think about it before
All
we
right, well,
vote
then
on
I-
it, if we're not in a
I
I
am,
would too, I would agree with that too.
all right, then I am open to a
discussion.
motion that we table this for further discussion at a later date, at our next school committee meeting.
I'll make that motion, that we table the calendar vote for further discussion at a future school committee meeting.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Rich.
All in favor?
Rich.
400.
I don't want Rich to feel left out.
Huh?
I don't want you to feel left.
I don't feel left out. I'm all
Like, you can
good.
do second.
All right, Dr. Beardos, you're up again with Bi-County Collaborative Quarterly Report, known as BICO.
Yeah, so as you're aware, BICO provides us a quarterly update, and we have the January 2019 update, and wanted just to point out a couple of different things with their new location in Walpole. Their enrollment has continued to expand. It's a beautiful location, and the programs that they have there, it's really been a great addition for the BICO program. They also work with all of the member districts to provide professional development that's more targeted for especially some of our smaller groups, whether it's nurses or OTs, PTs, physical therapists, speech language. And so that's been something that's worked really well. They have a new professional development committee that they put in place as part of their strategic plan. So working in collaboration with them has added value to professional growth opportunities. The trauma courses that we have been offering for the last several years and have been speaking very highly of those courses, they are now offering those to other districts. We will be offering again this spring Trauma 2 and Trauma 4 as we continue to move towards a trauma-sensitive school district. So we're already a few steps ahead. But they're following our lead on offering those courses through Leslie University. Other areas of professional development, teachers who have a student that is an English learner, they have to obtain the Sheltered English Immersion endorsement within a year of any time that they have an ELL student in their classroom. And that is a course that they continue to provide, which is nice for us because we've had so many teachers take that course that we might not have enough teachers to run the course in districts. So they have so many different opportunities where our teachers can go and take the course, whether it's in Franklin or other surrounding districts. And we've hosted some BICO courses here as well. And the last part here is one it's very different. It was a donation that they had received that it enabled the purchase of eye gaze technology for students and that need it's the way it was described to me. is it allows them, when they can use their eyes to communicate when they don't have speech or they're not able to use other gestures. And that was through a donation, and it's, not as many students would need that, but to be able to have that technology is something that was new for them, and just to be able to hear the technology that is available these days. So it makes it possible for students who can't communicate with their voice by writing, or through any kind of physical gestures such as sign language or even finger pointing, to be able to use their eyes in coordination with visuals on a computer and to communicate. So I thought that was really cool.
It is cool.
So that's the update from BICO.
These quarterly updates always highlight what a valuable resource the BICO Collaborative is to our district, and that we're lucky to be part of that. I think it is a good investment for our students, definitely.
Well, thank you for continuing to be our representative. It's greatly appreciated.
To do that.
This is informational, we need to accept it, I believe.
You have accepted it in the past, yes.
Yes, I need a motion to accept the BICO report, if this,
I'll make the motion to accept the BICO quarterly report from January 2019.
I'll second it.
all in favor? Thank you very much, people.
Amy, I'd like to thank you also for including the PD classes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Allison now.
Dr. Mello,
Yes, ma'am.
thank you so much for including that. I like looking at what has been offered.
Oh, I know, it's very exciting. It makes me want to come and take some of these.
I know, I actually want to show up at some of them.
It's a really fantastic collection of offerings. Really was a great day.
Do you have anything to add, Mr. Pearson?
I do not.
Ms. Weiss?
Yes, I just wanted to mention, I judged at the DECA district-wide over at the Mansfield Holiday Inn about a month ago, and I got the information from Mr. McCabe today. 26 students are going to qualify to compete in the state. Those 5 first places, 1 second place, 2 third places, 10 fourth, 2 fifth, and 6 sixth. It's going to be in March 7th through 9th in Boston where they compete. And from having judged it in previous years, I have seen the caliber go up. It started, I believe, 2014, 2015 year, when Matthew was a junior. And I'm just, from listening to the kids present, King Philip used to shine above everybody else because they actually offer a course, which we do not offer here. Mr. McCabe is just a mentor for the program, and it's an after-school thing. I mentioned to him, I really, really can see the caliber growing every year. So it's so impressive. I actually wanted to give our one of our students 100. It was really hard. I had to do 99. I had to talk myself down, like, you can't do that, you can't do that. They were amazing, absolutely amazing.
I have do that. It's
So
a,
it was
it's a
it's
wonderful
pretty cool,
program.
yeah. So that was very good. That's all I have for now. Oh, and go Pats. Can't forget that.
Tina?
Our high school marching band had the honor of playing at the Patriots send-off yesterday, which was very exciting and kind of cool for them. I think I'm going to go out on a slight limb here and say they are one of few high school marching bands who has played at Fenway Park and at Gillette Stadium. And if we could just get them a gig at the Boston Garden, they'd have a hat trick there. So we'll get to work on that with the Celtics.
Work on that.
Sometimes play there for their championship.
Yeah.
Wow.
They
So
play again this winter.
no,
What did you say?
The girls have played. The girls basketball has played there. So maybe. So
Like the way you said it. Cool.
congratulations to the marching band. I want to remind everybody that the Journey to Australia Gala is this coming Friday night at the Lakeview. So they're working very hard. The students who are planning their trip to Australia next summer are working very hard to raise the necessary funds, and our cheerleaders, who we approved their trip to Florida, had a very successful fundraiser last night at the new restaurant in town, Union Straw. So, which I had the pleasure of attending. So, our students really do a lot to raise the funds needed to attend some of these really great experiences, extracurricular experiences.
I just want to piggyback on that because I missed the first party that the kids were hired to play at because I was in Florida. About a New Year's Eve, I walked in and Cammie DeJolie's at a party I'm at, It was a very big event,
Yeah.
and I walked in, I'm like, okay, what are you doing here? And I turned, I see the violinist over here to the left. It was such a pleasure to come in and see our students. I was like, I was burst with pride, like, this is really cool. Because I only saw it in the pictures from the patio that I missed, so that was pretty cool to walk in and see that they were playing, and they were raising the money for the Australian trip. Thank you for reminding me.
I'm sorry, I'm going to be out of state this weekend, so I cannot attend that Australian party. But
Fill you in.
please do. But there will be other events, I'm sure, that will provide an opportunity for me to share in the excitement.
Sure. I actually have two items. So one is that we, as you mentioned, we had our Professional Development Day on Friday. And I just wanted to mention that we brought Dr. Khalees Warnham back again to continue our work on building cultural proficiency. And we just had our Professional Development Committee meeting today from 3:30 to 5. We went through all the feedback, and it was just outstanding. The teachers from pre-K through 12, ed assistants, building secretaries, everybody that attended just had wonderful things to say, and that they're learning so much and getting so many fantastic strategies from Dr. Warnham. Just want to thank her for coming and thank the Professional Development Committee for doing such a great job of putting together these offerings. You see the difference that it makes when you see the presentation we had tonight, and that's what it's all about. And also, typically in January, we present the community report that tells everyone in the community what's new in Foxborough and did you know and what our MCAS scores are and our OECD. And it was not on the agenda tonight. And typically you look it over before it goes out to the community. So I guess my question is, would you like to see it at the next meeting and we will not send it out in January? Or are you comfortable with it just going out?
We usually do have a nice conversation, and sometimes we have made changes and suggestions at the table that have worked out pretty nicely. So I think we'd like to see it, but actually bring up the next meeting, which is supposed to be next Monday.
Well,
I believe.
this was going to be my
Okay,
question.
so we're
I started
segueing.
something. Okay.
We're segueing into my question because I want to ask Dr. Berdos if there is anything pressing, seeing as the major work right now we have done, we're discussing it once again on Wednesday night, right, with the
Budget.
AdCom. Sometimes in the past, we have canceled the meeting because it's right next week again. So this is up to your discretion, or if Mr. Yukna feels he has anything, right, to perhaps,
had to be voted by tonight.
this is the last moment.
So I think the question goes back to the district report card where we've sent it out. I mean, it's been the last week of January. If the committee's comfortable with us not sending that out until February,
Well,
so that we have an opportunity.
the end of
It would be
February.
the end of
Towards the end of the, but I mean, they're doing such an excellent job that I don't feel that it's necessary for me to try to look over it right now to tweak it out. If I like a system, if people are comfortable looking forward to receiving this at the end of January, beginning of February, I'd like to keep that up. But if you think we really are going to tweak it,
Well, we have, I was
I know,
just
we
pointing out
have
that we
before.
have in the past, reflected on it at the table. But I also think that we have very capable people working on it as well, so.
well, our next, if we cancel the February 4th, the next meeting is February 25 because of vacation.
And we could send it out that next morning. I mean, it would obviously, if there's any changes to be made, I'm sure they wouldn't take hours. I would hope not. So.
I think it was just whatever was pertinent at the time that we felt was necessary to add and take something out and put that in because we felt it was more prevalent at the time. That's the kind of changes we've made.
Yeah, even some of the changes I
Moving
think we've
around.
talked about have been visual, just
Right,
looking
right.
at it and
How it popped, yep.
making suggestions, but.
What's the time, isn't the timing of the report card, though, the January, isn't it targeted?
That's when we have done it in the past, at the end of January. And honestly, there's been where it's gone out the first week of February too. So if it's, are people going to be waiting on it? No.
I don't think people are going to be waiting.
So whether they have it 3 weeks later, if people are comfortable
So
with that,
if
then we can have it on the next agenda.
You
and
can have right
it-
after school vacation. Start a new, little thing after school vacation.
Okay, So we could postpone it. Well, first of all, are we going to cancel February 4?
If we don't have anything pressing.
If we don't have anything pressing, we could.
No, that really, I think, is the most pressing piece as far as what we had that we wouldn't
The,
have had completed.
Joe?
Don't we have our school calendar to vote on too for?
No, we've just tabled that so that we have more time to think about the half-day or the full day.
On Good
Okay.
Friday.
So we are going to vote on it, but we're going to look at it again at our next school meeting.
Okay.
It just gives us more time to think about it and reflect on it.
Thank you, Joe.
And yes, and also about maybe moving the term up to the 1st of November. So how do we feel about number 1, canceling February 4? We would have to
I'm
let.
okay.
Okay?
Do we need to
Do I have
vote
a
or-
motion?
Kendall thinks we should
I'd
have
like to
it.
make a motion to cancel next Monday's school committee meeting. What's the date? February what?
February 4.
February 4th school committee meeting that we had scheduled. I'd like to cancel that meeting, and our next meeting will be on February 25th.
25. Second?
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor?
You gotta be faster than that, Richard.
Come on, Rich, we're giving you lots of chances here.
400, so we will ask Janet to please post that for those who aren't watching us on TV.
Carnival the Saturday?
All right, so then our next thing.
Winter Carnival, too.
Other matters?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, but the next thing, we would like to look at the community report and send it out at, the very end of February this year. Very
Who
good.
knows, we might have some even more good news happen in the interim.
Who knows? I know.
That we might want to include. There are good things happening all the
Absolutely.
time here in Foxborough, so.
Yes.
Absolutely. Dr. Berdos, your turn.
So what I wanted to bring up under other matters that some of you may have heard, that Mrs. Sue Abram has announced her retirement at the end of the school year. Yes. So obviously she has been, amazing and will continue to be throughout the end of this school year. So we are, excited for her retirement, very well deserved at the end of this year. You can imagine she's got a million things she wants to accomplish before the end of June. And we'll be talking a lot more about her and all that she has brought to the Ahern. She announced it a week and a half ago at a staff meeting and sent out to the Ahern parents an email to let them know as well. So that is kind of the end of an era.
It certainly is. That school has grown and changed
How
and
many years
flourished.
has she been the principal at the Ahern?
Close to 20.
Yeah, that's right. I was going to say, she was the assistant with Michelle McCarthy when Pilch was there, when I first started there.
Yep. So close to 20. That's.
Oh, do I feel old?
And she knows more about that building and every staff and student, and so she will be missed for sure. But with that, we need to go forward and trying to find a replacement for her and
For someone who's irreplaceable.
yes. And so we need to get that started. So we have posted the position. And I'll turn it over to Allison so she can talk to you a little bit about the timeline.
Yes, so we've reached out to our Ahern teachers and staff and parents to start to formulate our committee. I believe they have until February 5th to state their interest, and then we will move forward from there. We've also sent out the same email to parents at the Ahern so that we can have parent representation on the committee as well. And the applications close on February 8th. It's a little tricky around the school vacation, but I think it'll end up working to our advantage. So we're going to do an initial screening of the applicants. We are getting a good response on School Spring so far.
Excellent.
This time of the year, yeah.
I know.
That's good, though.
It is very good to see.
She was very considerate of our system to announce her retirement when she
And that's
did.
exactly why she did it, so
I
that we
know.
would be able to
That's-
get a jump on the pool. There are other competing districts in neighboring towns that are also
certainly.
searching. So we'll have our initial screening there, and then following up after the February break, the committee will meet again, and then we're hoping to interview the first week of March, so March 5th through the 7th. And we are hoping that by March 15th, we can submit our semifinalists' names. And then in the weeks of March the last 2 weeks of March, that we can have the people go forward to Amy and visit the school and visit the sites if needed. And we're hoping finally by April 1st that we can have a candidate to present to the school committee.
My.
Would you like us to, I would like to volunteer if I could. I know you usually use school committee members. I don't know how you want to do it, but I would be interested in being part of the interviewing process.
Fantastic.
How many school committee members are you interested in
Usually two,
having
right?
on your committee?
That's a
We
good
have
question.
Usually
had two
two,
in the
yeah.
past, but
Two.
it's certainly your call.
Well, it's,
Well, I feel like I'm the new kid at the table here, so I will, maybe we'll let you know. I think if it's two and we've done two, I'd be happy to have two.
Probably need
did
to do
the up
this
at the
tonight,
night.
given your time frame.
Right.
Okay.
I think we probably need to make the decision.
Yeah, we
tonight.
have had two.
You have two.
past.
See, I
Yes.
haven't
We have.
participated in many of them, so you're both volunteering, is that what I'm
Well,
hearing?
I actually was going to see if Richard was interested, given that you are a former administrator, and I'm happy to do it. However, I have had the pleasure of participating in several search committees. It's a great experience. It's really instructive in how we hire our people and how we vet them, as I'm sure you know, and I'm sure you've had the opportunity to do it many times in your other lives outside of Foxborough. So
It is a big evening commitment, though.
It is indeed. So I'm
But
just
I have a
gonna
concern,
throw that out there.
as much as I would like to, and I think I could, the timeframe does not work for me.
Right.
I have a very busy schedule from the end of February through March 17th that is
Yes.
probably unchangeable, so.
Yes.
And we don't
It
have to
would
have
not be a
two
fair
school committee
commitment.
members.
No, no.
We can have one, it's fine.
Right. So again,
I
it's
really enjoy
February
that.
11th, February 26th, and then March 5th, 6th, and 7th.
what was the first two?
February 11th is the initial screening. February 26th is the second meeting. And then we're holding March 5th, 6th, and 7th for interviews. Whether we will need all of those time slots, we don't know yet. That's tentative.
Oh, I can do the 11th, good. I'm coming home.
I am happy to help out in this
Great.
capacity since Rich is
Yeah,
tied up
no,
with
no,
work. But
timing's not right.
be happy to do it.
Okay. Well, if you're both willing and able, I think we would love to have your perspectives.
Okay.
So thank you.
Count me in.
Just giving a little
We
more
don't
of your
need to make
time.
a formal appointment motion or anything
No.
like that, just
And speaking of the
consensus is
Ahern, I did forget to mention, they are having their winter carnival this.
Oh, yes.
Only because I worked on it for years and I want big attendance
Yes.
there, on Saturday, this Saturday coming up. 11 to 2.
11 to 2. I'm out of
Really
state.
fun- It's a really fun day.
I'm missing a big
best.
weekend in Foxborough. I'm out of state.
The best. I always used to bring my kids. It was wasn't it fun?
It was good.
Oh,
Super
I
fun.
think I met your kids. there one
Yes.
Big jumpy houses.
Yes.
Good
Pie in
Great
the
the
face.
basket raffles.
So good.
Yes.
That was
Oh,
a
those
big moment.
bags.
Walking around the cafeteria.
Yes. Good times.
We got Mr. Gill with the,
Wow.
he
With
volunteered
no
basically.
further,
Did Rich have anything?
She already
read-
asked.
Oh, you did? Oh, he went first, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
all right, I will entertain a motion to have our meeting adjourned. There is a motion. Do I have a second?
I mean, I'm here, I don't have to, don't have my hands up, whatever. it
All in
is.
favor? Thank you and good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
End of the meeting.